Why does a woman that is in her 30s or 40s and has made the choice to not have kids attract so much attention from people? Hi friends, I'm Hannah. The world would be such a boring place if everyone did the exact same thing and lived exactly the same way. We're all different people, and that means we're all meant to do something a little bit different in our lives, and that's the beauty of life.
I think I'd like to just make my opinion on the whole child-free thing obvious. So I think there is this kind of general assumption that most minimalists are kind of child-free or have to be child-free or believe in being child-free.
Why is that? I don't think I actually know any minimalists in real life. Can't think of a single one. Is it that you can't really be a true minimalist if you're a parent because kids have so many things?
I suppose.
I don't think minimalism is specifically for a kind of person. However, I will say that from what I know about people who do have kids, I know it's a lot easier to be a minimalist when you don't have kids.
She has very nice eyebrows.
So in saying that, is me being child-free some sort of a statement or a minimalist thing? No, not at all, is the short answer. In general, I've never been a person who's been particularly excited about having kids or particularly negative about having kids. I've just waxed and waned through my whole life, to be honest.
I find that this idea of people being a little bit more like, about having kids seems to be way more common. It used to be like, yes, I absolutely want kids.
There have been times where I've thought, well, no, children are not for me. And there have been other times where I thought, yeah, sure, I could have kids. So I've never been one of those people who have been completely fixed on one option or the other.
It's good that she's open to it.
In fact, even now, even though I'm 37, I kind of just think of it still as a situation that I would consider if the right person came along. And I think ultimately that is how I feel about it. But up until then, I'm fine sort of not having kids.
I love how she included the we in there. If you wind up with someone and they're amazing, but they want kids and you don't, or you want kids and they don't, that could be problematic.
I think there are just as many benefits to being single as there would be being part of a biological family unit. I've said this before, but I don't think any person really has it easy or completely figured out.
Nobody has everything in life. Everyone has their own set of challenges.
You know, for the amount of pros and cons there are to being single and doing whatever you like, there are a similar amount of pros and cons being surrounded by people.
For sure. It can be really easy for people to look at our life and make an assumption about us because we don't have kids, which does tend to happen to child-free people quite often.
I don't think anyone's experience is perfect, is what I'm saying. So it's not like I feel like I'm missing out on anything, or I also don't feel like I'm especially benefiting from anything just by kind of having a lot more freedom in my life right now.
Sorry, there's going to be a little extra noise. Layla the cat is hunting something. Her and her brother stole an oatmeal cookie this morning from the counter and they ate most of it. So I think she's on her sugar rush right now.
So let's talk a little bit about how I grew up, and perhaps this gives you an indication of why I have or haven't made certain life decisions. I am the single only child of an immigrant parental unit. So my parents are Polish and they immigrated to Australia.
I could never imagine what it was like to be an only child. I have 3 siblings, so I'm just used to being around other people all the time.
So when I was growing up, I wasn't really surrounded by massive families. And my parents never really encouraged that in me either. I never got the message, oh, Pate, one day when you're 21, you finally get married and have 1 million children.
I did know 2 kids that were only children. One looked like he had a really rough life. Yeah, his parents were a little different. The other girl, she looked like she had the best life ever. She got every opportunity. Her family was always doing the funnest thing, the most fun things. She did ask me one time, Hannah, what is it like to have siblings? And I was just like, I don't know, it's just normal.
Actually, the message that I got from day one was education is really important. Being able to support yourself in the world is really important. That's what I grew up with. I wasn't one of those girls who sort of sat around dreaming about beautiful knights in shining armor.
The knight in shining armor, isn't that just a thing that's in movies? Do girls actually think about that? I never thought about that.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, one day I'm going to be a cool designer or something, or like an artist. That was the priority. So I always prioritized learning, being able to support myself. And I guess you could probably argue I'm on the cusp of being a millennial. Yes, self-actualization was always more of a priority than creating my own little unit or tribe or whatever you want to call it.
This is very relatable to me because my dream was to get a doctorate degree. That was literally my dream when I was a kid. I wanted to own a gas station because I thought they were super cool. I failed at my dream. I am not a gas station owner. Education was always something that was way more interesting to me than having a family. Can't tell you why, that's just how I work.
There are people I know who've always wanted to have kids. There are people I know who never ever want to have kids. But I'm not really close with people who are of that mind of you need to have children to be a woman. You know, kind of growing up in an artsier community, I don't ever really remember being pressured to have kids, really.
One of you guys left a comment in one of my recent videos, and your job had to do with being in the entertainment industry. You said that you were around a lot of people that were single and a lot of people that didn't have kids, and that was totally normal.
Have I ever felt shamed for not having children? I think probably there have been people in my surroundings, you know, and we're talking work colleagues here and that sort of thing, who have probably assumed that maybe I'm faulty in some way because I don't have that drive or particular obsession with, you know, having kids.
That's funny that she says obsession, because I do think that sometimes it becomes an obsession for some people. That's the pinnacle of womanhood, is having children. And when you don't strive to meet that pinnacle, then there must be something wrong with you, right?
But I have to say, they've not been people whose opinions I've been particularly concerned about. So it's not something that I've ever really felt very strongly. I mean, I've definitely had moments of feeling like there is a societal push for women to have children, and there is a societal expectation that you don't really know what being a woman means until you've had children. I mean, I've felt a little bit of that in the past.
I think it's hard not to feel that pressure at some point. It's hard to get through life as a woman and never have someone make some kind of comment to you about the fact that you don't have kids or that you don't want kids. There's also the way that women tend to be represented. If you look in movies or TV shows, the average woman winds up having a child, at least one.
Aw, you sound just like me before I became a mom and learned what the meaning of love was.
If you want to have kids, go ahead and have kids. If you want to have kids and live in a tiny house, as some people I know are on a mission to do, great, do it.
I think we have to be careful not to let people's words and judgments of our choice to not have kids affect us too deep. Because I typically find that people don't stop giving their opinions, they will continue to give them. And we can't live life based on what other people think we should be doing. That would be an incredibly unfulfilling life.
I guess ultimately what this comes down to is I don't feel particularly judgmental about how other people choose to live. And I'm not too bothered if my friends feel differently, or if you feel differently.
She hit the nail on the head right there.
I think it's very hard to pinpoint whether a particular life is going to make a particular person happy. I don't think it's yes or no. I think there are so many ways of living and so many positives and negatives to just about every part of life.
It really comes down to the fact that there are two very different decisions to make, to have kids and to not have kids.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
People would say there are pros and cons to both sides. Now, of course, if you don't want to have kids, we don't necessarily see much about this lifestyle as being a con. I made the decision to be child-free a long time ago. And the more time that passes, the more that I just see so much value in this choice that I've made, that this is the absolute right choice for me, no matter what he says, because he's not going to be able to tell me to have kids. It's not going to change my mind.